Hello everybody, welcome to Developer Livestream number 5. Thanks for joining us today. Today we are doing two things. First off, we are celebrating the Switch release of Cattails, which is very exciting. And then second, we are going to be taking a look back on the past year of Cattails, because it is 1 year to the day since Cattails first released on Steam. So a lot of exciting stuff. We have a lot planned. So I'm Tyler, I'm the lead developer of Cattails. I'm joined by Rebecca. And also Ellie's here. I'm gonna put her on the camera. Ellie's
she's
here.
Around.
Yeah, she's probably gonna be walking around.
We don't bother with like a cat cam because she's very active and won't stay in one place.
Yeah, she'll probably move around a little bit, but you might see her on camera. With that being said, we will sort of jump into this. So first off, thank you guys so much for supporting us and supporting Cattails and watching the stream. It's been a really exciting year. It's blown us away. We've done a lot of stuff that we never thought we would do. Getting a game onto a Nintendo console is literally like a childhood dream of both of us. Yeah. So that's been pretty awesome to see. So we're pretty excited. So the very first thing that we're going to talk about tonight is a couple of convention announcements. So if you are going to be at any of these conventions, definitely make sure that you stop by, because we're going to have tables at them, and we're going to be handing out probably a convention promo code of some sort, and then just talking and answering questions, talking to you guys if you happen to be there, as well as demoing the game, likely on computer and Switch. So the most recent upcoming one is going to be PopCon Fort Wayne. That's in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and that is at the end of this month. So if you're going to be there, we'll be there too. We're also going to Mindfair Chicago, which is actually a Minecraft convention, but they're going to have some indie game space, and that is September of next year, as well as PopCon Indianapolis, which is a convention we've been to many times. We love it. We meet a lot of awesome people there. That's in Indianapolis, Indiana, and that is in June of next year. So all of those, mark those dates. We're going to be at all of those. Becca and I will both be at those. Second off, we wanted to offer a promo code to celebrate the Cattails release on Switch. So this promo code is going to work on the PC version as well as the Switch version. It is Purple Shadow. It gives you that neat little purple kitty with the gray tail tip and paws there. It's pretty cool looking, I think. So we're going to keep that up on the stream, up on the screen during the whole stream, so that you can check that out and make sure that anyone who wants that, make sure that you get that. And that's going to continue to work even after today. That'll just indefinitely work in the future. So with that being said, we have a couple of things we're going to do. The very first thing is we're going to take a look back on some of the really cool old versions of Cattails. And I say really cool. I guess they're not really cool because they're really old versions.
Yeah, it's cool for us to see because it's really been a huge journey, and this is our 1 year anniversary of release date. So yeah, we just wanted to go back and see where we began and where we are now. So.
Yeah, so I hope you guys will stick with us through this. Some of these are kind of rough, but I thought it would be neat to see them. So we're going to jump over to the desktop. So first off, we have a couple of really old screenshots, because these are the most boring ones, so we'll get them out of the way. But these are really, really early. You can see that a lot of the screen is completely different. A lot of the UI is completely different, but it's a recognizable area. I think this is Forest Eaves, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously it looks pretty much the same, but at this point in development, I think most of the map didn't exist. You couldn't hunt a lot of things. There weren't turtles, for one. There weren't festivals. Lots of different things just were completely different back then. So here we have, actually, the first area that was ever added to the game was the Canyon Mine area, or Canyon, I think Canyon Mine is the name of it. So it's this area here where the mine is actually located. There's a cave just a little south of where that cat's walking. That's the very first real area that we worked on for the game that actually made it into the final cut. Here we have an early picture of Scout, who at the time was named Tiger for some reason. We were just kind of testing out the NPCs, testing out the dialogue system.
Ellie's getting into chords.
Oh, you want to take care of that? Here's just an early look at, I think, Oak Woods. You can see some of the raspberries there. Those made them into the final cut of the game as well. Here is actually, so this one's interesting. This is a color that doesn't exist in the final cut of the game. But, well, I don't think it does anyways. I'll have to double check with Becca on that one.
Which one?
On this particular color here in the
No, that's
the river.
ugly.
Yeah, I don't think that one made it. I had been experimenting with an early tool for that color, and then we decided we didn't like it, so we took that one out. But this is like one of the first tests of the swimming system, so I thought I'd take a screenshot. Here you have the cave, and you can actually see that Molby the Mole is just non-existent. There's no entrance to the mine either, which is funny. And again, I don't think this color is in the final game. There were a bunch of test colors that kind of just didn't make it. And I think this is Ember here, actually. Originally, we had stuck Ember into the cave. I don't even think this cat was named Ember at the time. And put some of these random coins around. I don't even think... I don't think there was a shop. They just kind of stood there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the money bags made it in either. Like, you can see like a little bag of money.
That might be entirely
like, why would they have money, like dollars? So I think we took that
out. Here you have, again, another color that's not there. But this is just an early screenshot. And of course, you can tell it's early because the cat is sleeping somewhere other than the den. Before the den even existed, we knew that we wanted the cat to be able to sleep because it looks adorable. So we made that animation. And in order to test it, we literally made a key. I think maybe it was N or something like that. You would press the key on the keyboard, and your cat would go to sleep on the spot. And then if you pressed it again, it would wake up. So your cat would basically sleep indefinitely, just to test that feature out. Here's another screenshot of Oak Woods, I think, with that orange tabby pelt, which actually did make it into the final cut. And there's another with Scout and Scout's pelt that is being worn. And I think that's it for the early screenshots. So we'll jump into some of these early versions. We actually have 3 versions of the game that are executable, I guess. So we'll pull those up. This is the absolute earliest version of Cattails that I can even find, and it's not even a game in the traditional sense. So this version is so early on that there is no interaction possible. It's literally just like art that's been like vomited onto the screen. So we have the cat with the ridiculously fast walking animation. We have this bird, which isn't in the final game. This is kind of, I think the original idea was to make some sort of a hawk type enemy that would protect a nest of eggs. And we kind of scrapped that early on, but the image I think is still there in the code if I remember right. And I think we modified that to make the dove prey. You can see the trees are entirely different, but everything else is more or less the same. So anyways, that's just an interesting point of history because that's the earliest possible version. So the next one is a little bit more interactive. We'll have Becca playing it and giving her thoughts on it. This version actually features I'm going to put it into full screen for you.
Okay.
This version features an area that was kind of our test area.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So much money.
So I was testing out the Muse, and there's even some gems here, which I think are also in the code, but you can't get these in game. Mm-hmm. So those give you like large amounts of Muse if you run into them. But this area didn't make the final cut. It was literally just like an early hunting grounds type area and an early area for me to dump everything that I made, basically, and then make sure that the art kind of meshed well. So you can see some of these NPCs who eventually their portraits made it as NPCs in the game, but none of them are, I don't think any of them are really named the same. So this is Falcon here, which ended up being Doc. And Falcon just kind of gives you advice, I guess, on how to play the tutorial.
And it's interesting how like the health bar is still over the text. Like there's just like little things that are still...
Yeah, and I think maybe with the health bar over the text, that might actually be a conversion error, because I brought this into a different version of Game Maker before I compiled it. Oh, there we go. That's Ember's original design, which is not in the game. That one was overhauled pretty early on.
Goodness, do we have pictures of the sock bucket? You know what I'm talking about?
I wonder if that's in here somewhere.
There was,
I could dig those up.
Before we worked on the portraits of the cat, we had this horrifying, what I called the sock puppet. Like, I don't even know. It was supposed to be like the portrait of a cat, and it was just horrifying.
Oh my goodness. Are you saying in YouTube chat that someone has already added the promo code to the Cattails game wiki? That is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, you
awesome.
guys are on it. Let's see, can I buy anything? Oh my goodness.
Oh, can
I
you?
forgot how scary Ember looked.
I don't think there's a shop. Oh my goodness, there's a shop. Okay.
Oh, and I'm loaded.
So I must have been really testing this. Oh wow, that pink.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, that's hard to read.
Oh, you can buy black fireflies.
Yeah, we'll buy those. Those are
I
cool.
forgot about that. I must have been testing the bug. I don't even think there's bugs that fly around at this point. I could be wrong on that, but
Oh, it doesn't do the shadow like in the current game, where
You're
if you drop a black firefly, it like makes darkness around it.
So this is one of my favorite cats right here, Violet, who ends up being Missy, of course, in the real game. Because Violet only has one ability, and it is to change the window from full screen or window. So just a lot of weird debug stuff like that exists in this early version. So you have Fierce, who ends up being Pebble, of course. And I think actually a lot of the personality of this cat made its way into to Pebble, because Fierce is afraid of the water.
Oh, that's an interesting face. I don't remember Pebbles having that face.
I don't think Pebble has that face in the final version. That's like the serious face, as we put it in the code. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that changed. So yeah, as we're playing this early version, if you guys have questions or comments or anything, feel free to post them into the chat. We are keeping an eye on that as we play. And just to give you kind of an overview of the stream, we're probably going to do these early versions of the game, taking a look at that for the next 15, 30 minutes, something like that, while we answer questions. After that, we're going to jump into the Switch version, which we have an interesting, fun little way to play that, which I think will be enjoyable. We'll see.
Oh, there's a bug.
Oh yeah, there's a butterfly right there because it's summer. That makes sense. I wonder. Oh yes. Okay, I can change seasons. Okay, so some of those dev commands are actually in there. Changing the weather. I didn't realize those were still in there. That's fun. Whoa, it's snowing. This is the kind of fun stuff that you get to do if you make a dev build of your game. So the water patterns are really funny. That's like a random point on this map.
For some reason, I was having trouble going up there. Okay.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
And that's because we were testing the currents. This is like literally the first water that was ever placed down in the game. So I wanted to make sure that the current would push you.
Oh, it doesn't switch talent. I think I'm going there.
You can get outside of the map in this, and it just doesn't care, and it doesn't do anything because this is like the entire game right now at this point. This is everything.
And I don't have any skills, it seems, like sprint or anything. Yeah, I just walked away and I'm still walking.
I see a question in chat from Miss Icy Spirit, who says, who drew the cat icons? So pretty much all the stuff in game was done by me. So if you're talking about where the dialogue portraits pop up and there's like the bigger one, that was me. And then as well the smaller cats that walk around the overworld, that was me as well. Oh yeah, so you can actually hunt in this, and I think the spawn rate is like just off the charts, if I remember right, for all of these animals, because we were really testing the hunting system a lot. Let's see here. Do you guys plan to expand the map at all, says Luminous Skies over on YouTube? Probably not. I think the map is at a pretty good place as is. We don't want the world to be too large to the point where it would be almost discouraging to go out, and the reason for that is because the day cycle. You only have so much time in a day, you only have so many hours, and we want to make it decently easy for you to go out and do what you need to do, even if it's on the other side of the world, and then get back within a reasonable amount of time. And we feel that we've kind of reached the boundary on how large we want the map to be there. So just for balance reasons there, we probably will keep it as is. Kitty Complex asks, are there any plans on releasing the game on other platforms other than Switch or PC, like PS4 or Xbox? That would be really cool. It's a really cool idea. It's not something that we have started on at all. It would be really cool if it happened in the long run. So I won't say never, but we are not currently working on that. Switch and PC are the current targets for sure.
Yeah, and right now we're working on adding updates to the game, and we're going to talk about that just a tiny bit at the end of the stream today. So
yes, we should have some little teaser to show you guys before the end of the stream. Dovely Artist asks, will there be an update this coming year? Yeah, so we have an update in the works right now, and we will provide more details to you as we have them. We're a little hesitant to say a date just yet. We're planning on getting it out before the end of the year, but we're hesitant on saying a date because we don't want to say something and then have to change it later on down the road. So stay in touch. Follow us on Twitter, especially. Twitter we tend to post a lot on, or Facebook, and you will likely get all of the updates as we have them available for you. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll back up through chat. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Gabrielle Burchell asks, are you guys planning to add or have considered adding graphic sliders to reduce lag? So there is a couple of really important things that exist in the game right now. You can turn off fancy lighting, and that will help a lot. You see these shadows. I'll point at it with the mouse. These shadows that sort of follow the cat at night. Those are pretty resource intensive, so you can disable those on PC. I think Switch does not have that. I think on Switch, fancy lighting is just disabled. And then the other thing is the item limit in video options. If there's just a bunch of items on the ground, that's going to probably cause a little bit of a slowdown. So if you turn both of those, well, if you turn fancy lighting off and item limit on, that'll help a lot with that. Aside from that, we did a lot of work recently to address a lot of the lag. So if you are playing on an older machine or something that doesn't quite meet the minimum recommendation, it should still run pretty stable for you because we implemented a lot of measures that will make sure that regardless of what the actual rendering frame rate is, it's still going to do all of the computations based on real time, not based on that rendering time. So I think recently we've improved that a lot. A few other ideas I guess we could have out there. We could reduce the particles. You see how these trees, particularly the cherry blossoms, if you go down here, the cherry blossoms sort of give off this particle effect. I guess we could add something to turn that off if we really wanted to. So if it becomes a problem and a lot of people are talking about it, then yeah, we'll probably consider doing other stuff with that. Okay, let's see what else. Dovely Artist asks, where is the best place to post fan art so you guys can see it? Well, that's awesome. We love getting fan art for Cattails. And there's a couple of places you can do that. I think the best place, in all honesty, is Twitter. If you just tag us on that, we'll definitely see it. And then the other way, if you don't have a Twitter account or if you don't want to make it public or whatever, you can send it to us via email. You can send it to cattailsgame@gmail.com, and we will be sure to see it that way. So let's see what else we got here. Will the game have other plot-driven quests beside the main quest? So that's a good question too. We added the main quest primarily to give sort of that driving motivation for people who really feel like they need that in the game, and I think that's important. There's a few other sort of driven aspects to it. I think the custom colonies, sort of unlocking all that after the main quest, is one of those. The mines are another as well. Those are linear and sort of put you through... it's not really a story, but it's sort of a linear goal that you're trying to accomplish. We don't have plans to do other things along those lines, because as is, I think the story would take about 10 hours or so, and it's more or less completely optional. So we're pretty content with where that's at, but I wouldn't say never. I guess it's something that we might consider at some point. So let's see here. I'm going to keep scrolling up here through the chat. Miss Icy Spirit asks, have you found a solution to the problem where the player and the kitten pounce at the same time and the player gets stuck? Okay, so yeah, that one is really tricky. I have literally spent an entire month of time looking into that particular issue, and it's extremely complex. So we put a number of measures in place that should safeguard against that. It's really, really difficult to replicate. Like, you would be shocked how hard it is to get that particular scenario to line up, and because of that, it's really hard to test it. Like, we don't even know what independent variables cause it, so we can't even make it happen on command, and that means that we don't have a way of discovering what's truly causing the issue. So we went into the code and we looked at what could potentially be causing it, and we just put like 3 or 4 sort of workaround things into the game. So hopefully it's fixed. We've done everything that we could, and it's something that only affects a very small fraction of players. So if that continues to happen to you, if it's still happening to you on the current version, please let us know. We have a bug reporting forum at cattailsgame.proboards.com. You can post it there, let us know what triggered it, when it happened, what version you're playing. because I guess we haven't actually received a report with that particular bug in a long time, so I guess we had assumed that it was fixed. Let us know, though, if that happens. Oh, the Cool Gamer asks, will you continue to update the PC Cattails along with the Switch? Yes, so we definitely will keep the PC up to date, and we also fully plan on updating the Switch version along with it. We're going to try to keep them one-to-one. That being said, we are completely new to all this console business, so the Switch version in particular might have a slightly delayed update. It's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible. But we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that both of those get these updates as quickly as possible. Violet over on YouTube says, you guys inspired me to start making games. Oh, that's really cool. I love that. I hope that playing Cattails can give you some really good ideas. And I love seeing other people's game projects as well, personally. So if you're on Twitter or anything like that, or even have an email, feel free to shoot over your game projects to us, and I'd love to check them out. Randy Cox over on YouTube says, are there secret cheat codes? Trying to think through that one. There's definitely promo codes.
Yeah, like the colors.
Which will give you colors, but those aren't really cheat codes per se. We
should add some.
We have a number of dev tools at our disposal that we can use on our dev builds that are basically cheat codes. We can like change the time. We can sprint at 500% speed. We can change the weather, the season, the day, like a lot of stuff. Like change how much affection cats have, give ourselves mews. But I don't think any of those are actually in the real game. So aside from like hacking, I don't think you'd be able to do those. Well, except for maybe one of those, but I won't say that. This guy Ducky says, swim up waterfall.
Oh no!
Okay, yeah, so we got an error there. So that's just to illustrate how early in development this particular version of the game was. It literally crashed with an error there. So, yeah, we came a long way since then. It's been almost 2 full years since that was the current version. So we'll jump into the next version here. This is the pre-alpha. This is a version that we gave out to streamers. Back when the Kickstarter was just launching, we decided that we needed people, to have eyes on the game. And so we made this version, and it is the first thing that's truly representative of what Cattails became to be. There's a lot of stuff that is similar to the finished version, but it's also distinctly different, and I think you'll see that as we go here. So we'll make a cat first, and I
always just name a cat after myself.
Oh yeah, Becca's a good name. Well, and then we'll full screen it once we get into the game here, so you guys can see it a little bit better. So the create character screen is pretty much the same. I don't think anything's changed there.
Okay, there.
Crazy Banana asks, so, haven't played this game, but I watch videos of it. When you have kittens, do they randomize the coats among their parents like genetics, or are you able to customize them? So a little bit of both. It offers you a few options. I think it gives you 3 options, but there's potentially 12 options that can happen between any 2 given parent colors, and the inherited colors are entirely based on the colors of the parents. So that's kind of a really neat feature, and it means that there's like 50,000 possible colors in Cattails, which is super cool. So like there's literally colors out there that your kittens can have that I've literally never seen. And the cool thing about it is once you get those kittens up to 5 stars friendship, you actually unlock those coat colors for yourself and you can use those. So that's pretty cool. So you have Scout here, and Scout is pretty much exactly the same. I think in this version you can't actually romance the cats, but you can become their friends.
Yeah, and I noticed that not all of the map is there. There's
There's a very small map in this version.
And there's also no active skills, so I can't sprint.
And there's Missy, of course. Missy's the same. I think most of the dialogue's probably the same. There might be a couple things that are slightly different.
So far I'm seeing it's mostly the same.
Jazzy Cat asks, when you give birth, can you save before and reload for a different litter? I guess you could. You would get the same number of cats. The number of kittens that you have is dependent upon how well you treated your spouse, like how many gifts you gave them, how many times you talked to them. So you're still going to get the same number, but I guess the color designs could be a little bit different. That's possible. And I think someone on the forums, I think maybe Cast Iron might be the user, made like this ridiculously long thread, which was super cool, where they actually tried to archive like every possible kitten color, which was really, really cool. And back then, when they first made the thread, it was actually a lot smaller because there were only 9 possible spouses, and those 9 possible spouses only had 9 possible colors that you could mix your color from, I think, like 100 different possible colors with those 9 colors. So there were only, 900 times 12 possible combinations. But then we added the custom colonies, and the custom colonies complicate things because there's 3 new marriageable cats in the custom colonies, and each of those marriageable cats can be reassigned to a different color of your choosing, which means that now instead of 9 possible spouse colors, there's like 100 possible spouse colors, and you multiply that by your possible 100 colors, multiplied by 12 possible kittens, and it's just this huge number. And I think it would take a real, very long effort to truly archive all of those. I guess it's still possible, though.
Ice wants to know, if you watch this stream, will it spoil the plot? I don't think it will. Later on, we're going to play some of the Switch version. I think we're just going to use my save file, which has already beaten the main story. So you'll see definitely some late game.
Has it really beaten the story?
Yeah,
oh, that's
I don't
right.
mess
That's
around.
right. That's right.
I got the Switch version, and I was going.
So yeah, I guess we probably won't touch the plot at all in this stream. So no worries there.
Yeah, you'll see some late game stuff, but you won't. I don't think it'll be any spoilers.
Hi there. No, Hi How Are You on YouTube asks, who was the first cat that you created for the game? I want to say Ember was the very first. And you saw earlier, if you were here a few minutes ago, the original portrait for Ember. That was for sure the very first cat portrait that we did. And oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. That was the second one. The very first one was actually Coco's. And Coco has the same portrait that we created all that time ago as the very first cat portrait. That's the exact same. Ember was the second one. But Coco, the actual NPC Coco, was not the first NPC. I'm pretty sure it was Ember that was the first NPC. And then Coco came later. So you can see Becca actually can't move north here because that part of the map doesn't exist yet. Jason Wang asks, hey y'all, I'm about to buy Cattails for Switch. What's the promo code for? Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much. The promo code, if you enter it in-game in your inventory, that's going to unlock that special color there. You see that purple color on the screen underneath the promo code.
I don't think I can enter a promo code in this version of the game. I was going to check, I'll do it to mine.
Promo codes were added after the Kickstarter, or concurrently with the Kickstarter, I suppose.
Yeah.
Chrono Liddy Cow asks, how much content didn't make it to the final version? There's probably just there's the hawks, which are a bird type that didn't make it. And then I think there's just one area that didn't make it, and that was that area we were hunting around in. And I'm pretty sure those are, aside from a few cat colors, those are the only content pieces that didn't make it to the final game.
Yeah, most stuff made it.
Just about everything. Even this cave. I mean, this was super early. You can't mine. We had no idea what we were going to do with the cave. But even this looks pretty much identical, and this was made all the way back.
I don't remember this rock. That specific rock. Maybe it's there.
I think that specific rock is there.
Is it there and I just don't notice it?
Might have to go and double check that.
I honestly don't remember if the money bags made it. Maybe they did. I feel like I fought against them, but they might have still made it in.
I don't think there are any money bags now that you say it, but I think the coins on the ground are still there because that's like Muse. I'm going to scroll back through the chat here, make sure I didn't miss any really good questions.
They're all really good questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good ones. Oh yeah, so Aiken, I think that's how you pronounce your name. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, your username. Asks, I remember Mayor has a dialogue option where you can choose the answer. Has it been removed? So yeah, I guess that is another piece of cut content. Originally, the cats could potentially ask you dialogue pieces that would be questions, and you could sort of answer those, sort of inspired by the Animal Crossing system, where they can, come up and ask you like, hey, what do you prefer? I don't know, technology or trendy clothes? And then you would just answer, and they'd give a little response. And we canned that pretty early because we realized that if you become the highest level of friendship with them, which is like the best friends level essentially, then they're probably going to end up asking you those same questions over and over and over, and we just didn't want that. It wasn't fun to answer what's your favorite type of fish, like 7 times. So we just decided, instead of doing that, we were just going to write different dialogue and not make you manually answer those.
A good amount of dialogue was sort of cut, or like we decided to cut back on how much dialogue we made pretty early on as well, because we started realizing like, we want 3 colonies. Wait, actually 4 colonies with custom colonies.
28 cats, and they're all gonna have 1,000 pieces of dialogue, and then we're like, oh no, that's gonna take us 5 years. Let's make it a little bit more reasonable. Mm-hmm. So the questions kind of got lost in that. Mm-hmm. Double KC Fam says, hi, I just got Cattails and I love it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's great. That is wonderful to hear that you're enjoying it. Oh, so this is interesting. This little mouse, even when that mouse was sort of hiding from you, you could still see its shadow in the light. I'm trying to remember if that's even still a thing in the final one. I don't think they actually cast shadows in the PC version anymore.
Like when they're under a lamp, the prey cast a shadow?
Yep, even when it was still like invisible because you weren't hunting, it was still casting a shadow. I wonder, I don't think you can upgrade skills in this version.
I think I can.
Oh, you can, but there's no active skills.
There's no active. Right. I noticed my sprint was missing pretty early on. I use that a lot. It is crazy how similar this is. Like, a lot of stuff. It's like we had the vision and we did it.
Right, and then we kind of just expanded the content from there.
Yeah.
I see, Aria Leroy asks, what happens if you die and choose to stay dead? So there's an option. I
actually wanted to drown in the earlier versions to see, but I'm like, I can't bring myself to do it. Like, I'm really curious what would happen.
So I think
but
in the
I
really
also don't want
versions,
to do it. Well,
if I remember right, you just can't die, so your health goes negative.
I remember there was a very dark version, I felt like almost it got kind of Undertale-y.
Ooh, that might
and I'm
still
curious
be there.
if it's in this version. I think we took it out before we gave it to the press.
I think it's still there. I think it's still there. It's a little more poetic, I guess.
Poetic
is the way to put it.
I don't know.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's see.
So you're passed out in the river. Poor kitty.
Bad.
Yep, that's it. The cold grasp of death nears, but there is still hope. A light shines brightly. Choose wisely.
So, what if I embrace death? Oh, I don't want to do it, though.
I think the game just ends. And that's actually what happens in the current version if you choose to just stay dead. Then it just shuts the game. Or if you're playing on Switch, it restarts it. So it doesn't, like, erase your save file or anything like that.
I'm really curious I'm going to do it. So be it.
So be it.
Oh my gosh,
and then it fades out. And then I'm pretty sure it's just gonna end there. Yep.
Just closes the game. That's just, like, so Undertale-y to me. Like, it...
Yeah, so we kind of redid that. We didn't want to...
So dark, which I love Undertale, but we didn't
want to scar anyone.
Yeah, that's the thing.
We wanted to make it a little bit less scary.
Because Undertale gave me nightmares. I didn't want to give kids nightmares. I didn't want that to be something that I did.
Over on YouTube, Hi, How Are You says, embrace death. That sounds edgy.
It's so edgy.
Yes, it's very edgy. That's why we changed it. So I think we're going to switch over to the Switch version now, because that's pretty exciting. So we have our Switch set up here, and we're going to be playing a really interesting way. Becky, do you want to talk about that?
I'll explain how this happened. So Tyler and I have played Cattails way too much, like a ridiculous, unhealthy amount. And we started like trying to come up with ways to like make it more challenging for us and just like mess around. So now what we do whenever we play it on Switch is we play it together. And we use only half of the Joy-Con each. So you kind of have to like work together to stay alive and stuff.
So I am in charge of the right Joy-Con, which means I have the active skills, I have the attack button, and I have A and B, which are very important.
Yeah, and I have like the movement, so and like and sneak.
You have sneak as well.
So yeah.
So we'll go ahead and open this up. I see a couple of questions that are asking, why did the mom dump the cat? So we leave that open to interpretation on purpose. There's no true right answer there. A lot of possibilities. Mm-hmm. So we're playing your file. Oh wow, you're a scary cat.
That's not scary, it's cute.
It is kind of cute with the bow, but it's also the silhouette color.
And I don't have any storage yet, so it's pretty unorganized.
So anyone who is unfamiliar, this is not a glitch. This is an actual color you can unlock. You unlock it from the Fall Festival, which is essentially like Halloween. And you get this color that's just a dark silhouette.
I don't have any kittens yet.
Right, not yet, but close, because you're married to Elisa here. Oh, and I see that you're currently building
I'm
the
building
storage.
something. I don't know what I'm
That's
doing.
exciting. We'll sprint out here. Oh yeah, so you're building the
This
Forever
is my
Colony.
yeah.
That's
This
nice.
is called the Forever Colony, and it's on the beach because I still don't know how to pronounce Elisa. Alyssa loves seashells and stuff, so
Let's pick
I
that.
wanted to build by the beach.
That's a good idea. And I see that you don't have any cats unlocked yet, so maybe that can be something
yeah,
that
we can work on building the colony. That's what I really want to work on.
that would be cool.
I also want to make sure that I give a lot of gifts to Elisa because I want to have lots of kittens.
That's a good idea. Yeah, the thing is, you only have one litter of kittens, so you want to make sure that it's good. So if you have 4 kittens, that is the maximum number that you can have. And of course, that's more exciting because then you get to level up 4 kittens and take those 4 kittens with you on adventures, which is super fun. And get 4 unique colors for your cat. Elisa Whiteheart over on Twitch, thanks for joining us, says, "What cat was your favorite to design?" Oh boy, there's a lot of really good ones. I think in terms of cats that I made myself, my favorite one was Arthur because the dialogue was very fun to write.
Yeah, and I think we were kind of surprised by how creative some of the Kickstarter backers were. So with our Kickstarter, one of the tiers was other people could create cats, and so that gave us a lot of really fun challenges that we actually really enjoyed doing, and we really had to think it through. Like Elisa has 2 different color eyes, so then we had to think through, okay, how are we going to make that work?
Right.
And then
Well, and Elisa Whiteheart over here on Twitch is actually the person who made Elisa. So that's fun. I also saw this guy Ducky over in the YouTube chat a little while ago, and he was responsible for Crampy, so you can thank him for that one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then Neil
Get that
has
mouse.
horns, so designing
Yes.
the portrait for Neil was fun.
A lot of really, really unique cats
Yeah.
there that we
Mossy
definitely
has
would have...
green in their
Yeah,
coat, and
like moss
yeah.
in the fur, I think was
yeah,
the
moss and
concept.
fur.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff, like just a lot of creativity that I would
Yeah,
not
that we have
come up
never
with.
thought of, and so yeah, and I feel like it adds so much more to the game. So
This guy Ducky says, "I am surprised you let me get away with Crampy, in all honesty." No, we heard
We
the
love
idea
Crampy.
and we were like, oh yeah, we got to go for that one. Oh, it's a blue jay. We missed it.
I feel like we're so good at playing this, they probably like, if somebody joins, they won't even notice that we're playing
Yeah,
kind of
you,
2-player.
you guys
I don't
probably
know.
think that it's just one person playing, but no, this is skill.
It really is though.
Oh, we're only one day out from the summer festival now, which is pretty
Ooh,
exciting.
Which one? Which game is that?
That is the turtle race.
Oh, that's gonna be hard.
That's a fun one. Oh, turtle race is probably gonna be hard with
Yeah.
2 people each holding one controller, but maybe it'll be easier because we're only
Because
focusing
like, yeah, I
on
only have to
half
keep
as
track
many
of
buttons.
half. Yeah.
That could be a real thing. So to give you guys another quick just update on what the stream schedule is going to look like, we're probably going to play this until, I don't know, probably like 8-ish. And then at that point we have a little teaser for you. And that teaser is related to version 1.3, which we have in the pipeline. So just so you know, there's an update that is scheduled to come out. We have not shared any details with that, but we should have a little bit of a teaser for you before the end of the night here. In case anyone is sticking around to see if anything's happening. Yes, the answer is yes.
We're getting a lot of really good stuff.
Miss Icy Spirit asks, is there any way to move your save files from PC to Switch? So I spent a lot of time looking into that, and I don't think there is, unfortunately. So I'm sorry, the answer is probably no on that. If anyone has figured that out, send me an email with the details, and I will be happy to share it. But as far as we're aware, no, there's no way to do that.
Let's see. I'm actually looking a little bit lost because I haven't played on this side of the map for a while.
Oh, well, if you just
I'm
go over
looking for
one more...
the mine because I was working
Yeah.
on.
Go right in the down one.
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite areas, Canyon Cliffs. I knew even making it all that time ago that I wanted it to be like an area where a custom colony could be built.
Oh, do you wanna
And
drop
so, oh yeah, we'll have to drop it. So this is how Becca plays. She just leaves stuff everywhere.
I leave stuff on the ground all the time.
Kind of drives me insane, but
Wait,
it works.
Is this?
Go down.
Wait, I'm so lost. Okay.
Go down one. That'll take you straight to the mine. How far down are you in the mine?
I think I'm to level 50, but I could be wrong.
Okay, that's respectable.
I don't know. I've already completed the other mine. Not
I
the
see
secret mine.
a question from Ice444 Live. Thanks for joining us over on Twitch. He says, does the Switch version include the promotional colors like Kickstarter Green? No, so those are not available on the Switch because we can't support them on the Switch, unfortunately. And of course, we want to keep those as exclusive as possible to the Kickstarter backers, so those ones just are not available. The other promotional colors, however, are. So anything that actually takes a promo code, you can enter all those on the Switch version, and they all work. I think someone out there has compiled like a super list of like, I don't know, probably 20 or 25 of those, and all of those do work.
I'm thinking we should go through our inventory and drop things here that we don't need while we go in the mine.
Good idea. So the catnip, the lavender here, the valerian, the shells.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything that we can't eat or use to heal.
Yep.
That's smart.
Whoops.
It's a little bit tricky to drop stuff when one person has the inventory button and the other person has the move button. But we'll make it work. Just one more item.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Okay, I think we're good to go.
We're gonna do that a lot.
Julia OG asks, I was wondering who came up with the music for the game. Really good question. We worked with a very talented composer named Tormod Garvin. He did the entire 45-minute original soundtrack for Cattails all by himself, and we think he did a fantastic job. You can visit his page on SoundCloud if you want to see some more of his work. I think it's just soundcloud.com/Tormod, Tormod -Garvin, Garvin, and you can see a bunch more of his work because he's very talented. We were really happy because he was inspired a lot by some of the same games that we were inspired by. So like things like Harvest Moon and Animal Crossing were heavy inspirations for the music of Cattails. We wanted it to be sort of fun and lively and bouncy and capture all of that fun essence of a kitty cat. But also there's some pieces that need to be a little bit darker, like the mining pieces, the temple piece, some more solemn tracks as well. And I think he met a really good middle ground. One of the best tracks, I think, that illustrates that is the battle music. We probably went through like 5 different drafts of possible battle themes just because like it's so hard to strike the balance between being overly dramatic about the fact that, you know, you're fighting to the death with a bunch of other cats, and also keeping it lighthearted because they're cute pixel cats and they're just pawing at each other. And I think it was a really good mixture there because it's lively, it's upbeat, but it's not too heavy, not too dramatic.
Yeah, and he really did go above and beyond like what we even asked for, and got some real instruments in some of the pieces. So like the winter pieces with like the saxophone and stuff like that, he had a friend help him out and do that for us.
Super good live music.
Yep. I think there's some flute in some of them too, maybe.
And piano as well. He had his friend Alex, I believe, who's in the credits, helped us out with primarily the winter pieces all have, or the first one at least has some live piano that's really, really good.
Yeah. I think the love theme too might have it.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that is live piano. The Cool Gamer asks, who thought of the idea of the Sacred Temple? That was my idea, and it sort of was a very early idea. That was one of those things that, like, even before we knew what we wanted to do with the Sacred Temple, I knew that I wanted it to exist. And so we just kind of found a purpose to suit the idea, I guess. Just because, it's sort of hilarious that in this wilderness there's just this inexplicable ruined temple, and all of these cats are, I don't know, somehow attached to it. I thought that was hilarious.
Okay, learning time with Becca. Pro tip with mining, this rock won't have anything in it, or like won't have the stairs in it. Any rocks that are right next to water won't have stairs. So. Yeah,
that's an artifact of a really sort of the algorithm that generates the mine shafts. It generates the stairs. Well, no, it generates the water first, and then it generates where the stairs are. And early on, we wanted to make sure that you could always swipe at the rocks, and you weren't actually able to stand next to a rock if it was right next to water. And that's been changed now, but there's still this artifact in the code where if there's water next to the staircase, the game just deletes it. Oh yeah, we are starving. There we go. Can't see the Lyris down there is covering up our hunger, so we actually can't see that. So this is like challenge mode Cattails. This is very hard mode. Akin over on YouTube asks, do you think it's possible to complete any mine in one go on very hard mode?
Ooh.
One go would be a little bit tricky. I think you probably could do the non-island mines in one go if you were really like, if you had 200 health, which is the maximum, if you had the full-size inventory and you brought a ton of healing items and a little bit of food, you could probably make that work. It would not be easy.
We definitely could not be able to do it the way we're playing right now with both doing stuff.
But I know that all the mines are clearable even on very hard. I had cleared the island mine on very hard once just to like prove a point that it was possible. It was very difficult and I had to do it 25 levels at a time, and that was with a cat that had maxed out stats, maxed out health, maxed out everything.
Yeah, and I think the balancing was actually kind of tricky for us because we played this game so much. We were better than like the average player sort of usually. So like whenever we would like demo the game or like show it to people, we realized like, oh, something that we thought was super easy because we've been doing it for hours, it was actually kind of hard.
That's actually one of the most interesting aspects of game development that we encountered was that Cattails, when it was first made, was just way too hard. Even the press version, hunting is too hard and you get hungry way too often. And as developers, we just didn't realize it because to us it was easy because we'd done it 1,000 times. But when people would actually sit down and play the game, they were just across the board starving to death all the time, couldn't figure it out.
And the prices of the shops, everything's a lot cheaper now.
Everything was like 3 times as expensive back in the day. We adjust that a lot. And we continue to adjust that based on feedback. So every time that we release an update, we go out and we watch like YouTube videos of people playing the game, or we check screenshots that people have taken and we're like, oh, this person's not using a color. That means they probably haven't bought one because it's probably a little expensive, or things like that. Or we go to conventions and we get direct feedback from people that way.
Yeah, and we use Steam achievements actually as developers a lot too. Like that's something that as a player you don't really think about, but in a lot of like your games where it says like, hey, you got a Steam achievement for completing the story, those are actually stats that we use. Like we want to know like, okay, how many people are beating the story, because that can tell us like, is it way too hard, or is like what's going on.
Right, and that's actually surprisingly common. Let's use some of these healing items.
Okay.
That's very surprisingly common. I found was that a lot of developers will include achievements on Steam, and they aren't like real achievements that people would actually feel good about getting. They're literally just there for statistics. So like an achievement might be complete the tutorial. We don't have one like that, but a lot of games do, and the reason is that way the devs can go into the global achievement stats and say, oh hey, 90% of people complete the tutorial, why are 10% of people not completing the tutorial? And then they can go in and try to make adjustments based on that. Kind of interesting stuff. Let's see what other things we have here. Lumina Sky says, do you plan on adding any lore to the game? That's an interesting question, and I think it's come up once or twice before during a live stream. So Cattails is pretty intentionally vague about the lore. That way, we're sort of providing a canvas, and then if other people want to, they can paint on that canvas, essentially. They can make up their own headcanons, essentially. We don't really think that Cattails is an appropriate game to make, like, 100 readable in-game books, like Skyrim has, or something like that. So we probably won't ever set those things in stone. I guess it's possible that we might flesh out a few things at some point in the future, but it's unlikely that we would ever make like a Cattails lore Bible or anything like that.
That was actually something early on when we were like just talking about what Cattails would be. We really wanted it to almost be a blank canvas, more so than what it should have been, probably just because of our personal play styles. Where like I love games like The Sims, or I don't know, just games where you can role play mentally while you're playing them. That's like what I like to do a lot, storytelling, that type of stuff. And so like there's even debate over like, should we even have like the sacred temple? Like should we
like
even
whole story
like the whole
basically.
Story? Like at the very beginning of making this game, I think we might be starving again.
Oh yeah.
We were even like just debating not even having that type of stuff just because of how we are personally as players. But
well, and to that point, I think early on, our early pitch for the game, so now the game pitch is hunt, fight, explore, and socialize in an expansive open world, and I think that sums it up pretty well. The early pitch that we had come up with, I think, included a line, something about Cattails gives you a blank slate and lets you live the life of a cat however you want.
yeah, kind of Minecraft-y almost, like where you can just
Yeah, a little bit more
yeah,
sandboxy.
do what you want.
And the game's still a huge sandbox, which is funny because it's about cats, sandbox. But yeah, it definitely we made it a more focused experience than what we initially thought.
Yeah,
we might.
so, some people need goals, which is totally fine. Like, it's just a
Yes.
different play style.
Adds a lot of direction, I think.
Yeah.
Gives you some immediate goals. If you don't have a goal of your own, you can go and pursue the main storyline.
And even that was something that changed early on. Coco wouldn't come to tell you about the Sacred Temple until a few days in. And then we started getting, like, reviews by people that said, like, there's nothing to do in this game. We don't know what to do. Like, what? I'm like, and it's like, oh my goodness, there's like
so much to
there's
do.
hours of
We're just
gameplay
not
that you can do. Like,
putting it directly in front of you, and forcing you to do it.
Yeah, like we get reviews that are really like, what are we supposed to do? And then look on Steam and see like, well, other people have 100 hours already like on this game. So it's just kind of funny how people have different motives, and
giving them something to do and say, hey, do this really helps a lot with that. And we really set out and we didn't want to ever make it mandatory, so that's a thing. You could just completely
you don't
ignore
have to
the
do
story.
the main story.
But it's nice that it's there for people who want that or need that.
Or like Animal Crossing. A lot of people don't understand Animal Crossing. They're like, what type of game is this? What am I supposed to do?
Blossom LPS says, hey Tyler, I have a question for you. Go ahead. And then a couple of other things while we're doing that.
You can tell Tyler. You can tell whenever Tyler starts looking at the chat instead of.
Because then we don't fight the rocks like we should. Lumina Skies asks, would you ever let fanfics become a thing? Absolutely. And I think
gosh,
there's
I love fanfics. Yeah.
one or two out there already that exist. And I think Cattails Amino is a thing that exists. I'm not part of it, but I do check in every now and then. It's this community of people who really like Cattails and have Amino accounts, and they post about it. And I've seen one or two fanfics posted over there. I haven't read them myself, but yeah.
There's some really good stuff in there.
People definitely do that, so you can go and check those out if that interests you. And if you write some fanfic, feel free to send it my way. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's something that we aren't very active in, but every time I look at there, I'm always like super impressed by like the community. That's something like we're honestly super blessed with, is like the community for Cattails is really awesome.
Yeah, you guys rock.
Yeah.
Dragon Draws asks, are you going to make any more games? Very likely. I've been making games since I was 10 years old. Really haven't stopped except for like 1 or 2 year break every now and then. So I definitely plan on making more games in the future. And yeah, we have a few little things that we're working on sort of in secrecy. So I don't know. Someday we'll probably have another game. Who knows? I see Mint Umbrellas ask, will there ever be multiplayer? I want to fight and hunt for my brother.
Do this.
Do this. Multiplayer would be super cool. I fully acknowledge that, and I would love that personally. I don't think that either of us are terribly qualified to make the game multiplayer. There's a lot of overhauling of literally everything that would have to take place. I think a prime example that sort of illustrates how difficult it is to take something like Cattails and turn it into a multiplayer game is Stardew Valley, which has like all the resources in the world at their disposal. They have millions of dollars at their disposal, and they have a publisher, and they have an entire team working on multiplayer. And it still took them like 2 years to get a multiplayer beta out. And of course, we're a much smaller shop with a much smaller team. So
this is our team, you're looking at it.
barring something amazing happening, multiplayer is very unlikely in Cattails, but I absolutely agree it would be awesome and it would be super fun. Lumina Sky says, can you make mole cache easier to find? I feel like it takes forever to get expansions. So we've done 2 things to address that recently. Number 1, in version 1.2, we actually made the warp expansions way cheaper so that you can sort of not have to spend quite as much mole cache. And the second thing is that if you get down really deep into the mines, you actually make a ton more mole cache that way. Like, it actually follows an exponential curve. That was part of the design for the mines. So if you're staying on the surface level of the mines where there's like no bats and no risk, you're gonna make basically no mole cache. But if you get down past like level 80, if you just come back up and sell everything that you find to the moles, you're gonna have like hundreds and hundreds of mole cache from a single trip. So just a couple tips there. Make sure that you go really far down in the mines, and the warps, once you get very far down in the mines, are much, much cheaper now. So hopefully that will address those issues to some extent.
Yeah, I think the mines are very tricky starting out, because once you Yeah, before you get to like level 25, you really aren't going to get too much out of it. You really have to work your way down until the rewards come.
Right. Takes a little bit of an investment to get started with the mines. I see a question here which says, what was the game mostly inspired by? I'm guessing Stardew Valley and Warriors. That is
Very accurate.
pretty much correct. Those were...
Yeah.
Well, so I would say the two big inspirations were Warriors and Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town, which is a Game Boy Advance game from a long time ago, which was actually a port of a PlayStation game, and I didn't realize that until much more recently. But that game's super cool. I loved it as a kid, played a lot of it, and Harvest Moon 64 as well was a huge inspiration. They're very similar games. And then Stardew Valley was inspired by that game as well, particularly Friends of Mineral Town, Harvest Moon 64, Harvest Moon Back to Nature, those sort of games. So we sort of took inspiration from the same source, but of course I've played Stardew Valley. I love Stardew Valley, so that was a huge inspiration too. And it's easy to draw parallels between the two games because everyone these days knows what Stardew Valley is, and that's super cool. That a game like that has such a giant audience nowadays.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome because like I remember growing up mentioning like Harvest Moon to my friends and nobody would know what I was talking about. And now like a lot of people know what Stardew Valley is. So it's really great that like these types of games have like started to become popular.
Right. There's like this entire niche gamer community that started to form around these weird life sim games, and I love it because that wasn't a thing growing up. Harvest Moon was so revolutionary to me as a kid when I first discovered it, because I was like, wait, you're not fighting things? Like there's a day-night cycle? What does that mean? Like I didn't even know how to play it because the only games I had played at the time were like Super Mario Bros. For NES, and it's just such a completely different experience. It completely shook my view of what games could be.
Okay, I think we should heal a little bit.
Yes, that would be a good idea. Let's use up that, the golden seed.
Might need to eat too, I don't know. No idea where we're...
It says we're satisfied.
Okay, well now we're really satisfied.
Now we're full.
Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah, that should be enough for now. I see a question. What other indie games do you recommend for Cattails fans? Oh boy, there's a lot of really good ones. If you like cats and genetics and games like that, then Niche is a really cool game. It's by an indie team. The developers are really cool, very friendly, and they love interacting with their community, like maybe even more than we do. Like it's crazy how much they interact with the community. So if you like those sort of games, then Niche is solid. Armello is sort of in the same vein. It's a sort of a turn-based tactical game, but it's based on animals, like cute animals that are beating each other up, so I guess that's kind of similar. Undertale's great. It's not quite like Cattails, but it was built in the same engine, and it's a fun indie game. Would recommend. Any suggestions you have?
I feel like you just said all of them that were on my mind.
There's a ton of cool indie games out there. Go try them all.
Yeah.
In terms of just indie games in general, and this is not related to Cattails in particular, but I played Celeste recently. It's a game that's also on Nintendo Switch. It's about a girl who goes mountain climbing, and it's kind of
That's very good.
It's really good. It's like a hardcore platformer kind of deal. Would recommend that one. Had a ton of fun with it.
Not an indie game, but a game that is kind of like Cattails that I really love and feel like is underappreciated is Rune Factory 4 for the 3DS. And that's a little bit more of a Japanese art style, but...
It's literally like Harvest Moon, but you also raise monsters and are living in a fantasy world, and that combination is really cool.
Yeah, a lot more combat and stuff like that.
Oh, other indie games. There's a game that's on Kickstarter right now called Aether, A-E-T-H-Y-R. Looks super cool. It's like an open world action RPG with a really cool art style, I think. So check that out and maybe back it if you're interested. I think I'm backing it. There's a ton of really cool work being done in the indie game scene, and a ton of it is happening over on Twitter. So if that's like interesting, then just like searching for the indie game hashtag on Twitter, you'll stumble across like a dozen games that you just have to have. It's dangerous. Sorry if you can hear Allie, she's being a little bit noisy right now. A lot of people are saying, I love Rune Factory 4.
Yes, I love it.
Oh yeah, people are mentioning Meadow, Slime Rancher.
Ooh, Slime Rancher, that's a good one.
Those are good. Shelter is kind of similar. Oh, there was a game that just came out on Switch like yesterday, where you play as a fox. I think it's called The First Tree, and I haven't played it myself, but it looks really cool. And the fact that you play as a fox is neat, and probably would appeal to a lot of Cattails people. So I think that's called The First Tree. Go Google that, and then let me know if that's true. Oh yeah, people could hear Ellie, it looks like. Do you need someone to come babysit Ellie for you? Asks Sam over on YouTube. Not at this moment, but I mean,
in the
she
future,
does
we'll call you.
always crave attention. So.
Yeah, she loves you.
Cupcakes Village asks, what are those white crystal things? Those are just like quartz crystals. And actually, funny story with those. Originally, they were much, much larger. I think that they used to be the same size as what they are on like the top level of the cave. And I ended up making them a lot smaller because when Becca first tried out the mine, she thought that those were like rocks that you could break. And so she kept like running into them and swiping at them because they were the same size as the rocks. Just kind of thought that was funny. But yeah, they're just quartz, and I don't think that the moles care too much for quartz for some reason. But that's just a convenient way of me saying that they're
just pretties.
They're just pretties. Just pieces of scenery to make the mine look a little bit more lively.
It is 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom.
Oh yeah, we're running through from the bottom, and then we'll go
really
back,
close.
sell it, save, all that stuff.
Yep.
And then you
we'll
guys
do
will
the
get
teaser.
to... Oh, I'm so excited.
Trying to think what other
Diamond.
Oh, a diamond. Good find. What other games sort of in the vein of Stardew Valley specifically are out there? Because there's a lot now. Ever since Stardew Valley sort of hit the big time, a lot of people have been making farming sim relationship type games. Lots of really good ones. I think one that we played recently was Gleaner Heights, which took an interesting twist on the formula where you're a farmer in a town, but the town has some dark secret.
Yeah, it's like a horror mystery thing going on at the same time. So like, I don't know, it's kind of freaky because like villagers will say things that are just a little bit off.
Just slightly off.
And I actually got like so freaked out by it, like just like the suspense. Nothing freaky ever happened. I didn't get far enough to where anything freaky actually happened. I was just like, I'm so freaked out by this small town, like all this stuff going on that I stopped. Oh yeah, we got the crown.
We made it. Let's grab those diamonds.
Yep. That I actually stopped playing it, but it was really good.
It's a pretty cool game. It's worth checking out for sure.
Yep. Okay,
So are we gonna trade?
Yeah, let's just
all of these?
Let's trade all of them.
All right, let's do it. I like that reckless
And
spending.
let's see. I
Anything we
don't know
wanna
if there's
buy?
anything at the small shop.
There's
that
the
I want.
inventory expansion.
Yeah,
That's kind of important. And
see
also
what
the
else.
warp to level 75 might be worthwhile.
Let's see the eye patch. That could be.
That could be cool.
I don't feel like I need the warp because I don't think I'll go to this mine again because I already have the warp on a different mine.
Although I think for the eye patch in particular, if you're using the silhouette color, then you're probably not going to see it too much.
I think I
'cause
might
it's
just
black on
like
black.
lose an eye. And I think that might be kind of cool. Like a one eye.
Oh, yeah?
I think
I
I'm
guess
gonna
you would.
pretend. I'm gonna pretend that my cat only has one eye.
Yeah, let's check that out.
That's
I'm curious
That's what I'm thinking.
What that'll
and
look
then
like.
also the inventory expansion because we can afford that.
Good idea.
I'm curious if that's what it will look like because that would be like hardcore.
I think it probably will, and you'll probably see the eye patch just a little
Just
bit.
barely.
Oh, that's cool
Here,
though.
yeah, exit out and let's see.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I like
That's
that.
hardcore.
You're a hardcore kitty now.
Yeah, I like that.
Let's pick up your
Oh,
items,
yeah.
and then I think you have
No.
warp home. So
Okay.
I'll just warp you back.
I don't know. I can't tell which one it is.
Oh, not that one. The other one. Dragon Surfa asks, what are your top
Ooh,
3
I would have to think
favorite
about
Coke
that.
colors?
We can see which colors I have already unlocked, and that would give a good idea of which ones I like.
So definitely
Pastels, I love pastels.
Seafoam
Guardian.
is one of mine, and that's that one right there. I love that.
Yeah, Guardian, choose Guardian.
Guardian's cool
That's
because it
cool 'cause
glows.
That's almost a spoiler, but
Not quite.
not quite.
I don't use Guardian. I don't think I've ever used Guardian,
Pastels
but it
is
is
really
cool.
cute. And I really like pastels for the kittens because you can get like different colored paws and stuff like that.
Yeah, that one's cute. And I like the other one that's in the Spring Festival too. Painted, I think, is the name of that one. That one's really cool. So,
I think it's teaser time.
I think it is. So
You guys
with
are gonna
that,
love it.
we'll just end the stream with the teaser. So thank you guys for watching so much. Again, we have an update that is in the works. We will share our details with that as soon as they are possibly readily available. And yeah, thanks for joining us. We had a lot of fun sort of looking back on Cattails, and thanks for supporting us for all this time. All right, we will hopefully see you at the next dev stream. Bye, everybody.